Hi, welcome to this tutorial video for the See Through Glassworks GlassKit. My name is Katya. I'm the founder of See Through Glassworks. I'll be walking you through what the GlassKit contains, applying foil, soldering, and a few troubleshooting techniques. I made this kit with the intention of taking all of the mess and all of the tedious work out of stained glass. So hopefully people can have a very easy, accessible, and fun time with stained glass. If you are a complete beginner to soldering or stained glass in general, don't worry, we've got you covered. On our website, there is a beginner's kit, which includes a soldering iron, extra lead, extra copper foil, and a few glass practice pieces that you can get really comfortable soldering on before you move on to your glass kit. When you get your glass kit, it should include all of the glass pieces for the glass kit, copper foil, a copper foil tool to smooth out the edges on the glass, 60/40 thick wire lead solder, flux with a little brush applicator, a little step-by-step instructional pamphlet that looks like this, and then a numbered glass plan for where all of the pieces should go so you can lay them out before you start soldering. There's a couple of safety things I want to go over before we start. You'll want to find a really flat, sturdy surface to work on. If you have a wooden surface, that's great. If you don't, you can always put a piece of cardboard between the table and your piece. That way it won't get burned when we start soldering. Another thing, lead is toxic to work with. You do want to avoid touching your eyes, your skin, food, anything like that until you thoroughly wash your hands. That's why I wear these gloves when I work. If you have disposable gloves, amazing. If not, just make sure you wash your hands after working with the solder. And another thing, when you're soldering, it's great if you have a well-ventilated area. If you have a place outside you can work, that should be perfect. If not, and you're indoors, work with an open window and a fan blowing if possible. Applying foil is the most straightforward part of the process. You will get some copper foil that looks like this. It has a sticky side and a non-sticky side, and the purpose of it is to make the lead solder stick to the piece. Solder doesn't stick to glass by itself, so it does require this foil in order to hold all of the pieces together. And this is what you're going to be aiming for when you're applying foil. You want it to be even on both sides. You can see it's even. And then with the foil tool, you're going to be smoothing out all of the surfaces so that they're as flat and as stuck to the glass as possible before you solder. All right, let's get to tacking together our pieces. Sorry if the audio changed a lot. I had to change out my mic. Right, so I'm dipping the brush in my flux and brushing over all of the spots I want to drop a bead of solder on. I'm tacking it together so the pieces don't move around when I'm working on them. I got my soldering iron on the highest setting. On this iron, that's 450 Celsius, and I'm using the wet sponge on the end here to clean the tip off. You just want to get it nice and shiny before you start. And then you're going to roll out as much wire as you can that you can still work with. The heat will travel along this wire, so you don't want to burn yourself, which is why you're doing this. And then always hold the iron on this rubber grip. If you try to hold it like a pencil, you will get burned. And remember to go slow. The way I like to do it is you've got your setup here, you got your flux, and then it'll go wire, iron, wire, iron. So one at a time, moving in and out. One more time, wire, iron, wire, iron. And you can see my pieces moving a little bit here. That is okay. I'll just kind of squish them back together. Wire, iron, wire, iron. The reason I slowly go with the wire and then the iron and then off and off is because if you pull both of them off at the same time, you risk getting this copper foil ripped off of your glass piece, which is probably the only more difficult issue that you can run into with stained glass. Here is what my tacked together pieces look like. You can see I've got a healthy amount of solder on there. If yours don't look like this and they look more shaky, less like a bubble, if that makes sense, like less smooth, I would recommend applying a bit more flux. You'd be surprised at how much of a difference the flux makes. Now to put down all of the lines, I'm going to be applying more flux. And now, since I'm heating up some of the solder, I put the iron on the flux just to heat it up. And then I'll be adding little droplets here and there. And move slowly. The iron should get really, really hot, so the solder should move really nicely. But sometimes it takes a minute to heat up all the way. And that's when going slow really helps it look really nice in the end. I'm cleaning off my tip. Here's what that looks like. Got nice even lines all the way through. If you're running into difficulty with soldering and your piece looks something like this, where you can see the copper foil on each side and it doesn't look even and you're having trouble getting that lead solder to flow, let me show you what to do. So just brush a little more flux on there. This could happen because of a couple of issues. It's either your iron's not on hot enough, you haven't been using enough flux, or you haven't been using enough solder. So I would check the things in that order. Check that your iron's on at the hottest setting, then flux it again. Don't worry about brushing over solder that's already on there. That won't hurt it whatsoever. And then go ahead and try to melt the solder that's already on there. If it's sticking to the edges of the copper foil, that means you've solved your issue and you can keep going. If not, you might want to add a bit more solder, and just a little drop here and there should do. When in doubt, just go slow. Soldering stained glass is super forgiving, so pretty much anything can be fixed. And just like that, it looks perfect. Here's the first side and the fixed side. Thank you for purchasing this glass kit. I do hope this tutorial helps, and I hope you're enjoying stained glass and foiling and soldering this kit together. If you have any feedback, do please email me at seethroughglasscompany@gmail.com. or message me on any of the social media links in the description box. Thank you so much. Have a great day.